Good evening, folks. And tonight, we're going to talk about one thing. Are you ready for the madness? March Madness! Yeah, it's that time of year, folks. March Madness, right around the corner. Everybody knows it's that time of year where you get those bracket busters and everyone picks who they think they want to win, and the bracket busters happen. Oh man, everybody loves the bracket busters. Well, some do, some don't. Some like to hear the pow. I think I hear bracket busters. Brackets busting. I see it all the time on Facebook. Even I post that. Well, I'm going to do it a little differently. High school style. I mean, it's going to be in two parts. It might be a little while for the other part, but we're going to do it a little differently. Well, let's just do it this way. I always had a lot of respect for a lot of good teams. Lots of good teams throughout this history. Both boys and girls high school. I mean, through recent years, Pickerington Central has made it there. A lot of respect for them, even though I hated them in school. They were only known as Pickerington when I was in school. As old as I am, I'm 30, I'll be honest, I'm 36 years old. I'll be 37 at the end of this year, so it just shows you how old I am. And the thing about them is that there's a lot of change in them. Back the time when I was in school, it was different. We played a lot of good teams. I went to Lancaster High School in Ohio. This is Ohio's version. I don't really know much about teams from out of state, so I had to do the Ohio version. And it was pretty interesting. I was the manager of the basketball team sophomore through senior year. Very interesting. Very. Tournament. We had a lot of very good teams throughout our tournament. Newark was one of them. Gahanna, Westland. We split Gahanna. Then we also took the Kaufman, Scioto was always Dublin Kaufman, Dublin Scioto was always a good rivalry. I mean, you gotta look at how good those two schools really were. One year they were both that way. Dublin Scioto was number 4. Dublin Kaufman was number 8. They both went far in the tournament. Then the year I was in school, we split with Dublin Kaufman. The only issue is with Dublin Kaufman, they got beat by Westerville North, who that was their only win of the whole season, surprisingly. They were just a terrible team. Westerville North was pretty much, lackluster. They came away with a 54-50 win over Dublin Kaufman. Surprising. Hannah Dublin Scioto, one of the losses. Gave Dublin Scioto a loss. There was a few other losses that Dublin Scioto received, but that was one of them. And then, lo and behold, the year before that, in 2001, 2002 season, Dublin Kaufman was a pretty damn good team. Literally unbeaten. So is Dublin Scioto. Scioto was pretty much, unstoppable. They beat Dublin Kaufman twice. And then Dublin Kaufman played us, and we beat Dublin Kaufman. Dublin Kaufman went far in the tournament, but lost. We had a chance to play Dublin Kaufman again. They probably would have beaten us. Just like they did the year before that, when they were ranked 11th. We beat them earlier in the season by 4 points. 58-54. Surprisingly. My sophomore year, we beat them 58-54. My junior year, we beat them being by a score of 57-54. A three-pointer. Correction. Yeah, 50-47. Excuse me, wrong score. It was unbelievable. Shout out to my greatest coach, Coach Jack Greathouse. He is a legendary coach. Someone I could never get past. I don't think anybody could ever outdo him at Lancaster if anybody had the chance to it. Coached one of the best teams that I could ever think of. When I was a senior, he coached the best team Lancaster ever had. At least I thought during my time when I was there. He had coached the best team Lancaster ever had. Hell, this Lancaster team was monster. He made it seem like if we were to be like a hurricane, we were pretty much like Hurricane Harvey. That was a monster hurricane. And we were a monster team. We will talk more about that a little later here shortly, but let's get back to the Kaufman and Scioto rivalry. Well, that year, in 2002-2003, Scioto lost in the regular season. I can't remember what the score was. I think it was 62-54, I think. I'm not really sure. But Dublin Kaufman won. But then Dublin Scioto got the revenge in the tournament. 57-52 over Dublin Kaufman. But the year before that, Dublin Kaufman could not beat Scioto. But then, surprisingly, Upper Arlington upset Dublin Scioto. And we'll get to that sometime not too far from now when I finally get all my paperwork printed out. But we'll do the girls first. Before the boys. As a Cincinnati Molar, they got their first state title in 98. 99, 98, I think. That's what got them on the map. As known as the Monsters, as the Crusaders. They've been known as the Fighting Crusaders for a long time. But they're a good team. We scrimmaged them. Reynoldsburg. Who else was that? Reynoldsburg, them, and a couple other good teams, and it got to us to where we are to where they were. But have you ever had a team that was so good for such a long time, and then, without warning, they just take a quick siesta? But then they kind of start emerging a little bit. They start emerging a little bit at a time. Well, that's what Lancaster's starting to do again. He finished 12-10 this season. I mean, since the 2006-07 season, this is the other time we ever did really that good. Took a long siesta because we didn't really do too good.
2 months ago, the competition boiled over into accusations of slashing tires. To the owners of each truck,
But if you want to look at back then, Dublin Kaufman pretty much was runner-up. We played Kaufman twice my senior year. They finally entered our league. They were already in the same league as us, but not in the same exact league, because there were so many OCC leagues. There's the OCC Buckeye, OCC Capital, OCC Cardinal. There's like so many OCCs. But with this OCC, let's look at it this way. I think we were OCC Ohio or something. Maybe OCC Capital. I can't remember which one we were. But we're the same one we were then. We had Gahanna. We had Gahanna Lincoln, Pickerington, Westerville North, Westland, Dublin Kaufman, Central Crossing, kind of what we got this time, and Hilliard Darby. That's what was made up of this whole entire league. Now, as of what we had, this is who we played. Marion Harding, our first game, big time W, 72-44. Actually, we'll talk about those scores. We'll talk about how it all ended up in every game. Then we beat the Southeastern Panthers 65-55. Then we played Gahanna Lincoln at their place. But Southeastern was played at Zane Straits, a neutral location. But Gahanna Lincoln was a 64-49 victory. Then we played home against Pickerington Central, double overtime win. Oh, that was an exciting game. 57-48. Hats off to my best friend in that time frame, Kyle Greathouse. He was phenomenal. And then we had a good team of Hilliard Darby, Jimmy Stern, who was a shooter and a half for Hilliard Darby. Could not miss anything unless you put a hand in his face. 69-62. Then came the Central Crossing Comets on the road. Beat them like a drum. 63-49. Then we kept it going. Only a 10-point win against Westerville North the first time. 50-40. And then Springfield South Wildcats, an overtime win there. And that was at Ohio State. At the Schottenstein Center, nevertheless. I got to experience being on the floor, even though it wasn't the championship. Great classic win. 59-57. Big time victory. And then we played home against Westland. Big time victory. 66-46. And then our arch rival Newark got a good victory there at home. 63-60 in overtime. Such a good team they were. And then came our one setback against Dublin Kaufman. 58-55. We'll talk about how each game will be played. And then then we played home against Gahanna Lincoln. We beat Gahanna Lincoln 56-38. And then we played on the road at Pickerington Central. Well, not necessarily Pickerington Central, but at Pickerington. And won 60-56. And then we played at Hilliard Darby, winning 62-41. And then we played home against Central Crossing and destroyed Central Crossing. And there's a freshman on the team that would soon be known as a player that changed the course of everything. Kevin Carr, who would actually transfer to my alma mater. He was a freshman on that team. Very good player. And then we had Westerville North at home this time. Very good. Very good team. But we ended up destroying them. 63-37. Even though Westerville North was the worst team ever. But the thing about them is they had a heart. They always played with heart despite not having a good team. And then we played Newark. Once again. Probably one of the better teams ever. But we made them look bad. 52-30. Then came Westerville South. I always called them, and we were at Westerville South. One of the best teams you could ever see. And sure enough, it was a good game. Turned out to probably be one of the games that could be the game winner. And sure enough, it was. Hand in the face, get out. And sure enough, it proved to be the game winner. 52-46. Tom Coleman, monster shooter. He's like some of those guys, if you don't put a hand in his face, he makes every single shot. He's one of those kind of guys. And then we played Dublin Kaufman the second time. And this time we won 54-47. And then that was the OCC title. Did the Dublin Kaufman losing to Westerville North 54-50? This was our chance. It was a tie game. This was the tiebreaker. The winner here would be the OCC champs. and we were the champions. First time in our school history, we were OCC champions. And then came Cleveland John Marshall, an 81-57 win. 81-57, excuse me. And then comes the tournament. We were at the Fairgrounds Coliseum. Literally every game was at the Fairgrounds Coliseum that we played. First was Westland, another first game, 70-44. Then came Upper Arlington, another big one, 60-41. Pretty much all dominated. Then comes the number 3 ranked team in the state that's ranked higher than us, Thomas Worthington. Oh, tight game from start to finish, and we beat them 52-50. 3-point shooting was the difference in this game. And then comes the next game, the Elks, Centerville, the Sweet 16, 54-42. We beat the Elks. So happy that we beat them out. And then comes Brookhaven. Such a disappointment. 46-43. That was the end of the road. Couldn't go any further. So sad. But we had a good run. And Cincinnati Moeller, we'll talk about Cincinnati Moeller and all those other big games when we have more time. But Cincinnati Moeller, Brookhaven, Toledo St. John's. Cincinnati Moeller would end up upsetting Brookhaven that year. 73-65, actually. It ended up being a quite significant type of game. I mean, this is what you call upset alert. I will get into that stuff when I have more time. But I gotta get ready for some stuff. I got some more stuff I gotta print out, so I'll talk to you about that later. With that being said, peace.